Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Pokemon Alpha Sapphire. The look of shock I had when I first played this and learned they actively had Deoxys in there as a non-event legendary for the first time ever was absurd. Deoxys here is a pure psychic type, so it is weak to Bug, Ghost, and Dark. With that said, what stat it has depends on what forms you're seeing. Right here we see the normal form, which is a really good mixed attacker that's really fast, but can't really take a hit in any regard that well at all. With that said, Deoxys has 3 other forms on top of this one: attack, defense, and speed. You can cycle through them by investigating the meteorite at the back of Professor Cosmo's lab over in Full Arbor. Compared to normal form, attack form takes 30 from both defense stats and puts them into the attack stats, making for a glass cannon. Defense form lowers the attack stats by 80 and the speed by 60, raising both defense stats by 110. And speed form takes 55 from both attack stats, putting 30 of that mess into speed and boosting both defense stats by 40 each. Deoxys is one hell of a toolkit legendary. With that said, you definitely want to try and catch it here. The nightmare is, if you knock it out and run out of Pokeballs, you have to go through the Rayquaza and Zinnia fights both before you can do this again, and it sucks. Hence why I cut about 20 minutes there because, yeah, I didn't catch Deoxys successfully the first time. Deoxys, the DNA Pokemon. Deoxys emerged from a virus that came from space. It is highly intelligent and wields psychokinetic powers. This Pokemon shoots lasers from the crystalline organ on its chest. The world is saved once again by a random 10 to like 15-year-old just about. You received a letter from Master. I was finally able to bring everything to an end. I thank you for that. I think I'll spend some time now trying to find out if it's also possible to forge a new beginning for something once lost. Until we meet again, Zinnia. The energy reading appears to be diffusing. We can confirm that the meteoroid has been destroyed, sir. Professor! The meteorite, it's... Oh, thanks, the powers above, it's...
Calm yourself, man. Oh, who am I kidding? I'm so happy I could kiss you. We did it. We actually did it. Success is ours. Thank you, Kyle. I'll be leaving then. Goodbye, Mom. Bye, Dad.
Wait, just a minute, Wally.
That's right. Are you okay? You looked like you were in trouble recently with those strange thugs came around. Of course. My Pokemon and I are fit for anything. See, Kyle got my Keystone back for me. And Mr. Norman gave me a ticket to a resort that sounds really neat. I can't wait to go and check it out.
My. I never dreamed I would one day think that Wally was too well.
Yes, but he honestly looks so happy. And I can't help feeling happy too.
Bro, sorry.
Archie, looks like Matt feels sorry for what he's done.
It's unforgivable. Oh, bro. Absolutely unforgivable.
Archie?
I can't forgive what I've done. Huh? I drove my own loyal crew to such despair as this. I have no right to call myself a leader anymore. I'm sorry, Matt. I truly am. Oh, bro. I'm planning to start everything over from scratch, Matt. What happened back then with Kyogre, and what happened this time. Look, you can't do anything if you're all wrapped up in what you believe. Team Aqua or Team Magma, Pokemon or people. There's no reason why we gotta pick just one of them. It might be a pain, it might even be a bit scary, but we've gotta take that step into the unknown. Mix with people who aren't like us. That's the kind of Team Aqua that I want us to be from now on. You think you could be a part of that kind of Team Aqua? Matt? Oh, you bet I will.
I can't believe these two. What do they think they're doing standing there with their faces all wet with tears? Well, I guess it could be worse.
I still owe you for your help at the Sky Pillar. Thank you for that.
How unlike you to be so thoughtful.
You know, this experience really brought it home for me again. That there is still so much about this world that I do not know. I wonder what would have happened to Hoenn if Kyle had not been here to aid us with this and the incident with the super ancient Pokémon. I alone was powerless to stop either. There is no one person in this world who knows all, none who can do all. Stephen, there is no cause for such worries or concern. Don't worry. It's not that I'm so shocked by my own disappointing performance, but rather what? I was just thinking how much more there is I must learn about nature, about Pokémon, and about my fellow humans as well. If I'm to keep living in this huge, wide world, I want to walk this world with my own 2 feet, to see it with my own eyes, to feel it on my very skin. I need to put into practice all of the advice I ever gave to Kyle. That's what I'm thinking now. Stephen, you can't intend to... but no need to fear. I won't just disappear at once. I'll still be around doing my duty on behalf of the Pokemon League. But, when the time does come for me to pursue my own hopes, well, I hope that you, Wallace, will be behind me to lend a hand. It seems I have little choice. I bow to the whims of the pampered heir. I, Wallace, will do this thing you wish. Thank you, my friend.
Aster, it's over. It's all over. Zinnia, my child. Granny, you've worked so hard. It is enough, child. Be done with your burden. Let it go now. For everything, there must be an ending. Only then can there be a new beginning. This is immutable truth that all living things on this planet, great and small, must accept. We Draconids have seen it in our history, as you have seen it in your own life. Now is the time for rest. Let down the great burden you have borne so long alone, so that you might at last take a step forward toward new life. Now is the time for rest.
Yes. I suppose May and Kyle probably arrived by now.
I imagine so. The weather's good today. They should get a good view of the stars.
But you know, I really am glad we moved here from Johto. I think that meeting you, Birch, and Mrs. Birch and little May has had a huge impact on Kyle's life.
Oh, it's just the same for our May. Don't you agree, dear?
Of course! Whenever she does make it home, all May has to talk about is Pokemon and her precious friend Kyle. I think she's over the moon about this adventure and the great friend she's found.
I think our boy's just the same. He always looks so happy these days.
I hope you'll continue to look after our Kyle for many more years to come. Oh, why, Norman? You don't even have to ask. Nothing can make me happier. Thanks, old friend.
Well then, dear, isn't it about time we were headed back home? I should get supper started.
Oh, yes, those kids will probably be starving when they get home.
Oh, I didn't make any plans yet for dinner. What do you think we should have, dear?
How about our little boy's favorite?
That was amazing. So those are the Litleonids. I'm really going to need to thank your dad for this one. Because, come on. I've never felt this touch before. Oh, I guess I should thank you too, Kyle. I'm so glad I got to see this with you.
Thank you for visiting the Moss Deep Space Center. This center will be closing shortly. Please make sure that you don't forget anything when you leave.
It's true what they say, though. Time really flies when you're having fun. Well, bye then. Kyle. See you tomorrow. You're back at last. Welcome home, Kyle.
And that's the end of the Delta episode, kind of. I'm not gonna say anticlimactic ending, because holy shit, we shot into space, but definitely a lower key ending after all that. That was kind of more of just a final note for everything. Morning, Kyle. You must have been bushed. You slept like a log. Oh, but before I forget, this came for you. It's from somebody named Briny. Huh, so it was a ferry ticket, was it? As I recall, you can catch the ferry from the ports in Slateport and Lily Cove. Kyle, if you have an ambition as a trainer, I want you to take that ferry to the battle resort. I think it'll teach you there's no end to a trainer's chosen path. I'd better be heading back to the Petalburg gym then. Thanks for looking after the house on my way, honey. Bye, Dad. Nice to see you stayed home for at least a night. Oh, that dad of yours, can't he ever forget about work? I wish he could just switch it off and take it easy sometimes, but I love him just the way he is. Get slightly higher standards, please. Help me! Help me! This seems familiar. Oh, why even is it Kyle? Help a professor out! I've got some Pokeballs in my bag there. So, this actively could have spawned at the start of the Delta episode, technically, because this happens after you first enter the Hall of Fame. You get access to any of the 3 Johto starters of your choosing. You can go for the Pure Fire type Cyndaquil that eventually becomes a really fast special attacker, the Pure Water type Totodile that becomes a very defensive physical attacker, or the Pure Grass type Chikorita that becomes a fantastic mixed defender. I'm going with Totodile, even though I'm never actively going to really level them up. My, good thing that Shroomis wasn't as fierce as it seemed. I sure do appreciate you trying to help me out, though. In fact, why don't you keep that Pokemon? Yes, that one from the Johto region. Free little gator boy! I love Totodile. I don't really talk about it enough compared to Typhlosion, but I do love this little guy. Well, hope to see you later. I somehow get the feeling that I will if I stick around here. You've lived here for years, though. So now that we've completed the Delta episode, a few more things are actively accessible to us. For one thing, we have that ferry ticket we can now take to the full post-game area now, but also a few more events have spawned in now that we've actively finished the Delta episode. On top of that, since we're now in full-out post-game instead of just the Delta episode post-game, it's time for me to slowly restart my legendary hunting. Also, worth noting, I don't think I've talked about it at this point, but if you actively fly on your Lati when it's night, you actively get a calmer nighttime variant of the soaring theme, and as much as I love the triumphant as hell daytime version, I love the soothing nighttime version. This has been in a kind of winding down music playlist of mine for a while, and I just love listening to it. First off, we're going back to the Nameless Cavern, as while I've gotten 2 of the legendaries here, we still haven't gotten the 3rd one. In specific, I'm here between, I think, 9 p.m. and 3:59 a.m. in order to get the final member of the Lake Guardian trio from Sinnoh. By coming here during the time period we just listed, you're going to find yourself Azelf. Probably my favorite design of the 3, honestly. I just love this little thing. Azelf is a pure psychic type, meaning it is weak to Bug, Ghost, and Dark. While Mesprit was the jack of all trades of the trio and Uxie was the defender, Azelf is a pure mixed attacker with incredibly high speed stat. On top of that, like the other 2, it also has Levitate, so it's completely immune to ground type attacks. Out of this trio, this is probably the one I'm the most likely to use, but at the end of the day, not only do I not use legendaries, I'd rather use other legendaries than the Lake Guardian trio as well. I think they're largely cute. They're just not... They don't pass the vibe check, I guess is a good way to put it. But hey, at least they're pretty kind when it comes to being caught. So far, easily Deoxys is the most annoying legendary to catch in this specific entry, if only because, hey, you have a whole lead up to it that involves catching a separate legendary as it is on top of a Pokemon battle. With that said, this post-game is going to be a lot more than just legendary hunting, as we'll get into in a few moments. For right now, let's talk about Azelf, the Willpower Pokemon. It is thought that Uxie, Mesprit, and Azelf all came from the same egg. Triplets! Weird little chaos babies of intelligence and soul and all sorts of other meaningful lore. So, while we're going to be doing a good bit of legendary catching in this post-game, a large chunk of this specific video and some of the next one as well is going to be going across Hoenn, not only checking out Mirage spots that spawn along the way in the case day passes over, but also we're going to be grabbing a lot of the Mega Stones we haven't gotten throughout the LP thus far. Specifically ones that may have spawned in after catching or defeating Kyogre and Groudon, and I think there's also a couple that spawn in post-Delta episode as well. So this is going to be a little bit of a collect-a-thon. With that said, by the end of this chunk of 5 parts, we are going to be accessing the true post-game area, albeit only loosely. We'll be talking more about that in the next chunk of 5 videos. Just to talk like behind-the-scene editing and all that, Ooh, Old Amber. We can go resuscitate that at the Devon Corporation in Rossborough for another Pokemon. This specific chunk of footage is in the 23rd recording session of, at the moment, 36. There's going to be a 37th that cleans up some other stuff before I finish off the LP. The next chunk of the LP is probably going to whittle down that remaining, 13 really quickly. For right now, let's go actually restore that Old Amber. That's going to become an Aerodactyl. Aerodactyl is a Gen 1 rock flying type, so it is weak to rock, steel, water, electric, and ice, but immune to ground. It is an incredibly fast physical attacker. It has an okay learn set on the whole. It can either have rock head, pressure, or unnerve for its abilities by default, which are all perfectly fine. We'll talk more about its Mega in a moment, though, because I actually want to head back home. Oh, that reminds me, here. I've been thinking I should give this to you, Kyle. If you talk to your mom after completing the Delta episode, you get the Mega Stone for the opposite version's Lati. So Latiosite here in Alpha Sapphire, Latiosite over in Omega Ruby. Plus, since we're here in Little Root Town again, after we leave the house, we're going to have already a very familiar scene. The professor's already in danger again. This event spawns in after you've completed the Delta episode, just that I happen to have 2 stacked because I hadn't been back here yet. Instead of the Hoenn or Johto starters, though, at this point he's going to have a different set of starters for us to actively access. In specific, we're having a brief adventure here over to my favorite generation in the series for the Gen 5 starters. You can pick the pure fire type Tepig to get eventually a fire fighting type that's a very beefy mixed attacker. You can pick the pure water type Oshawott to eventually get a just overall good attacker with, again, another good HP stat. And you can pick the pure grass type Snivy for what is eventually a pure grass type that has some really good defense stats and speed. I'm going with Snivy just so I can complete the trio of starter types that we've collected up to this point. My goodness, I sure misread that situation, didn't I? I thought that Machoke from the Pokemon Postal Service was a wild Machoke. My, what a slip up. I sure do appreciate your trying to help me out, though. In fact, why don't you keep that Pokemon? Yes, that one from the Unova region. There's one more version of this we can do, but we'll talk more about that later. For right now, as we continue our journey grabbing other things, let's talk about Mega Aerodactyl, because we haven't yet. In Mega Evolving, Mega Aerodactyl gains Tough Claws for its ability, so any moves that make physical contact about 30% stronger. Otherwise, in Mega Evolving, it actively gains a good, 30 physical attack, 20 physical defense, 10 special attack, 20 special defense, and a whopping 20 speed, making it, again, absurdly fast. Next up there, here at the Berry Master's Garden, you can get the Abomasite, allowing you to evolve the Gen 4 Ice Grass type Abomasnow. Abomasnow is an okay mixed attack with some okay HP. Soundproof is its hidden ability. Snow Warning is both the ability of itself and its Mega Evolution. And Mega Evolving, it gains 40 attack and special attack, 30 defense, and 20 special defense at the cost of 30 speed, making it really not my favorite. Here, though, if you come back to Wally's cousin after beating the game, you get the Gardevoirite, allowing us to access Mega Gardevoir. And Mega Evolving Gardevoir goes from having Synchronized Tracer Telepathy over to Pixelate, so any of its normal type moves not only deal more damage, they're automatically turned into Fairy type. Also in Mega Evolving, Gardevoir gains 20 physical attack, a whopping 40 special attack, 20 special defense, and 20 speed, making it a really good special attacker. Next up, we're back here at the Jagged Pass for the first time in a while. Notably, I am actively walking most of the way in some cases here in case I want to run into new Pokemon along the way, or if I'm actively refighting trainers to get some experience from them along the way. Toward the southeastern edge is going to be our next Mega Stone, the Tyranitar, allowing you to Mega Evolve the Gen 2 Pseudo-Legendary Tyranitar. By default, that's a Rock Dark type with Sandstream or Unnerve, and while it keeps Unnerve as its ability, it goes from being a really good physical attacker that can take a hit in basically any way that matters, to gaining an additional 30 physical attack, 40 physical defense, and 20 special defense alongside 10 speed, making it even better at that. Also notably, after entering the Elite Four, the old lady here at Lava Ridge has a new egg for us. We'll talk about what that hatches into when I eventually do so. But also down here in the southwest, after collecting the Kyogre or Groudon, lies the Houndoomite. I've already talked about what Mega Houndoom's like, but just worth noting that that is where the Mega Stone is, and you could have grabbed that before even entering Victory Road in case you wanted to. Next up, we're back in the Fiery Path, because the next Mega Stone lies at the very edge of it, where we got a Firestone earlier in the LP. This is the Mega Charizardite X, allowing you to access one of Charizard's 2 Mega Evolutions, because again, a lot of fan favorites got Mega Evolutions, kind of unfairly. Also, while I'm here, I figured I might as well catch a Torkoal just because. Charizard by default is a fire flying type with blaze or solar power. That's a fast special attacker, but in Mega evolving with this stone, it becomes a wicked fire dragon type weak to ground, rock, and dragon with tough claws for its ability. It also notably gains 46 attack, 33 defense, and 21 special attack, making it an even better attacker than it already was. Now, along my way to the next destination, because I'm walking at this point to try and hatch the egg, I did encounter a new Pokemon hidden in the grass here. This is Tyrogue, a Gen 2 pure fighting type, so it is weak to Flying, Psychic, and Fairy. Tyrogue, ability-wise, has either Guts, Steadfast, or Vital Spirit, which is fine, but notably, even compared to some other baby Pokemon, its stats are kind of pitiful. Everything is 35, but that partially plays into its evolution methods. You see, Tyrogue here will either evolve into Hitmontop, Hitmonchan, or Hitmonlee. The way it does so is that whenever it reaches level 20, whatever stat is higher, it'll evolve into a specific Pokemon. It evolves into Hitmonlee if its attack is higher than its defense, Hitmonchan if the opposite, and notably, as I brought up earlier, Hitmontop if the stats are balanced, which is a nightmare to do. In most cases, I'd really just recommend Hitmonlee, because it is my favorite of the three, but it really depends on personal preference, of course. But I also really wouldn't just bother with this Pokemon line in general unless you're really worrying about getting everything done in your Pokedex. But even then, there's easier ways to get these Pokemon largely. Not something I like to do. With that said, while I'm walking around to try and hatch the egg, I'm also actively battling a lot of trainers along the way to level up other Pokemon for something else. And because I'm doing rematches, at this point, a lot of trainers have actively changed up their teams, and while I'm not showcasing them all, I do at least want to showcase what's new. In specific, Ace Trainer Wilton here nearby actively now has a Talonflame. This is a Gen 6 Fire Flying type, so it is weak to Rock, Water, and Electric, Rock being a 4x weakness. Talonflame, from what's usually the early game flying type you can find, has an insane speed stat. And honestly has an okay physical attack stat on the whole. Ability-wise, it'll either have Flame Body or the hidden ability Gale Wings, which is especially interesting. That effectively gives any flying type moves it can use a priority boost of 1. So that means if you have a flying type move that's already a priority 1, it's now a priority 2. That can be really good. I think in specific, this is also the only Pokemon line that has that ability to date. If you're gonna use an early game flying type, this is honestly probably top 2 or 3 to me because of that alone. With that said, you're probably not gonna see it whenever I get to Gen 6 as I have other priorities more than likely. With that said, this Ace Trainer does have another new Pokemon for us, but we gotta get through a majority of the rest of its team for it. And it's one of those where if a Pokemon trainer throws this out, even in post-game, it is a little bit of a jump scare. Because Ace Trainer Wilton here in specific is going to throw out the mighty Haxorus. The Gen 5 pseudo-legendary, pure dragon type with either Rivalry, Mold Breaker, or Unnerve, all of which are really good abilities for it. Meaning it is weak to Ice, Dragon, and Fairy. Haxorus has a ridiculous physical attack stat. It's decently fast, and it can take a physical hit okay. It's not too good in the special department, but that's not a focus for a reason. You're doing damage elsewhere. Defense-wise, it's one of the easier to take out dragons, admittedly, but when you keep in mind those abilities, you can be in for a rough time against any of these. With that said, you can actively get the baby form of this, I believe, in one of the random Mirage spots, Axew. So if you're looking for a dragon type for your team, you could do a hell of a lot worse. Worth noting, the way I'm going through the Mega Stones that we're actively going out of our way to collect right now is I'm going in alphabetical order via the ones I can access easily. So for instance, my next destination, I believe, is over back in Falarbor Town, hence why we're heading over this way along these routes. But also worth noting, this specific trainer's here, and I want to refight them for some new Pokemon as well. But also to note, if you wanted to grind out levels for Pokemon, Ace Trainer Brook here in my memory is one of the best trainers to do so with. Because that's certainly what I did back when I think I did this route's trainers, went through the route toward west, and then went over towards where Mount Pyre is, I want to say. Either way, starting off here, we have a new Pokemon. This is Purugly, a Gen 4 normal type with Thick Fat, Own Temple, or Defiant for its abilities. Defiant's easily the best one there. Being pure normal type, it's weak to fighting, immune to ghost. Purugly is a very fast, okay physical attacker that's perfectly fine. Not one I tend to use a lot, especially past like maybe a third gym in a game it's in, but it's one I've used to good effect overall. God knows a lot of us probably have memories of fighting at least one of them back in Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum for a very specific reason. Worth noting though, I forget the exact factors of it, but as you actively refight trainers over and over again, they do get stronger to a certain point. I think up to like the 5th rematch they are stronger. which, hey, if you're trying to do even more grinding, that can really help. Next up, she has a Lapras. This is a Gen 1 water ice type, so it is weak to fighting, rock, grass, and electric. Lapras is an absurd tank. Great HP, decent defenses, especially more specially tilted, and it can do okay with attacks on the whole in either type. Ability-wise, Lapras will either have Water Absorb, Chill Armor, or Hydration, all of which are perfectly usable for it. I've used this before as a water type in the past, especially as one to use as a surfer, and it's worked overall really well. There's just water types I prefer overall. Hi Vaporeon, hi Sharpedo. If that hasn't been abundantly clear by this point. Also, I don't think I've talked about this directly yet, but there actually are 2 different Mega Evolve animations. A long one, which is the one we just saw, and the one that you get upon you first using it, and a short one. I want to say the game just alternates between the 2, but it might be random after the first case. It doesn't matter too much, though, unless you're actively speedrunning for obvious reasons, I would hope. One more new Pokemon in Brooke's team, and it's going to be their final team member. In specific, they're going to throw out a Roserade. Roserade is the final evolution of the Budew line, which evolves from Roselia when you use a shiny stone on it. Still a grass poison type, so it's weak to flying, fire, psychic, and ice. Roserade, especially in Gen 6 after it got a stat buff, is a really good specially minded Pokemon with a fantastic special attack stat and great special defense on top of that, and it's decently fast. Its physical stats aren't anything too special, but if you use this thing to good effect, it is a fantastic grass type to have around. Ability-wise, it'll either have Natural Cure, Poison Point, or Technician, like with its prior evolutions. Technician can work well with that, though, considering how many Poison-type moves can be relatively low power, from my memory. Perfectly usable. I've used one in the past. In the rare case I actively use a Grass type, it's one I will actively consider using pretty often. But yeah, right now, I actively have Miranda in my team, which, if you remember correctly, is the Swablu we caught back near Full Arbor the first time around. This is because in order to get the Altaria Knight from the guy over in Lily Cove, I do need to have an Altaria, and this is why I ultimately caught a Swablu earlier in the project. Also, along the way to my next destination, I did actively decide to catch a Sandshrew, just for the sake of it. Why not? I love this little guy. We are notably at this point on the Ashen route on the northern half of Hoenn, and along the way I did actually find a trainer with another new Pokemon. In specific, it's the first Ninja Boy right here. Their entire team has now evolved into a set of, I believe, 3 Weezings, which evolves from Coughing at level 35. Pure Psychic type, so it's technically weak to Psychic and Ground, but notably, at this point in the franchise, I believe, Weezing always had Levitate, so it's not actively weak to ground, it's purely immune to it. Stat-wise, Weezing is an incredible physical tank that can throw some okay damage out as well. It's not too fast and it can't take a hit too specially, but it's perfectly usable. I do tend to lean more towards the Grimer and Muck line than Coughing and Weezing, but they're both perfectly usable Pokemon. Not ones I tend to consider first, but ones I will consider in the case I'm doing something a little different, in the case I'm feeling like it. Now, in editing at this point, I actually realized this part was running a bit long in the tooth, so I end rather awkwardly after this battle. So with that, I'm going to need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, and in part 35, we're going to go across more of Hoenn, grabbing more Mega Stones in the process, and seeing what else we can do along the way. See you guys then.